but we increased our contract value from 10,000 to literally 18,500 that year. Right. So it almost doubled our contract value just being able to, include those other products at scale because of ArcSite.
All right. Well, we'll start off nice and easy. Can you just introduce yourself with your name and title?
Yeah, my name is Alex Jolley, and I am co-founder and CRO of FRDM Turf.
Awesome. So tell me about FRDM Turf. How did you guys get started, and what does the business do?
My business partner and I have been actually friends since about the 6th grade. We've been playing on our basketball team together. We went separate ways. He went off to play at the University of Hawaii. I got into actually direct sales, building up sales teams. And in our later years, about 2021, 2022, we came back together, became pretty close again. And I was actually at a family party, and at this time I was in the solar industry, but I was at a family party and my aunt and uncle told me they were getting artificial grass, right? There was a bill passed in Salt Lake, House Bill 242, that they were going to be increasing everybody's water rates and measuring the external water, right? Because of all the water crisis. So I was like, well, what? Turf? I thought that was football field. So I told Max about it. He went crazy as well on it. He was like, dude, we got to do this. Like, I was already kind of looking into this for maybe my backyard because my pet. So we looked into the technology. It was amazing. So we started off as artificial turf, right? Through that, we actually scaled out where we do a lot more hardscape and just more, outdoor living. And that was a huge reason that we love ArcSite is because it opens up our product offering, right? But yeah, that's how we started. It was literally just, my aunt and uncle saying something, and it was just something that Max and I fell absolutely in love with artificial turf and sustainable landscaping. So.
That's awesome. It's always those like serendipitous moments, and then boom, you've got this business now that like is a huge part of your life. I love it. Yeah. I guess just walk me through the size of the company. Obviously, it started off small with this like seed of an idea. So tell me about how you guys have grown over the years.
Yeah. So it started as a side hustle. Max was in the tech industry. I was in solar, right? And we just do it on the weekends on the side. Towards the end of 2022, we won our first big project in the early 2023, and we decided to burn the bridges. That year, we did 2.1 million in revenue. We just went as hard as humanly possible. My hairline shows it, right? 2.1, and then we went 6.7 and opened up St. George, which is southern Utah. And this last year, 14.2 million. And we opened up Denver, and then just recently opened up Phoenix. So it's taken off. It's done really good. It's grown pretty quick.
Yeah. That's awesome. How many employees do you guys have overall?
So we have a different model where we actually use 1099 sales reps, where we pay a piece rate, as well as we have some W-2 crews, but majority is actually subcontract crews that get paid on a piece rate, right? So we see ourselves as almost a platform where we control the materials that are going there and the design and a lot of the project management. And then we help both the entrepreneurs, the sales reps, and the installers in a platform-like model. So we have probably 40 plus sales representatives and, anywhere from 45 to 50, even more, labor subcontractors. And internally, W-2, I think we have 15 or 16. We just have a couple more just starting. So, yeah.
That's great. I mean, honestly, that kind of like model is great for small businesses because you're not having to have like a fixed amount of overhead, and that just adds a little bit less. It's already a lot of pressure running a business. It's like a bit of less pressure.
It's crazy in landscaping and turf, especially in Denver and Denver and Salt Lake being our biggest markets. Is there's snow, right? no work during that time, so it helps with the seasonality where we can have that type of model.
Absolutely. So you just mentioned that obviously you guys have had massive growth over the last couple of years. So walk me through what a typical day looks like for you in running this business.
Yeah. So typical day typically starts out about 8 or 9, where I'm actually on the sales marketing side. We've kind of separated where my business partner is running a lot of the installation teams. I run the sales and marketing, and so it starts about 8 or 9, and it's a lot of check-ins. We have our marketing huddle where we look at our lead generation, exactly what has come in, what has been scheduled, what has been closed by our sales representatives. Other than that, I'm in a lot of recruiting meetings where sales representatives come in and meet with me, and I recruit them to come work for us. Then we have a couple little operation huddles just to make sure that we're on track on all of our projects. Because sometimes we could have, right now, we don't have as many projects going on, maybe 10 or so at a time. But during the busy season, March, April, May, we could have 30 plus. And we want to make sure that we have all eyes, that we have those, check-ins with the foreman team, with the project coordinators, just to make sure all the logistics are going good. Then all the on-site management is going good. So typically, afternoons is a lot of operations, and the mornings is a lot of sales and marketing, right? So
that's great. Yeah. How did you guys sort of decide, like, as your business grew, like what responsibilities were going to, live on your plate versus your business partner's plate? Because that's always tricky when you're starting off. You're kind of wanting to do everything, and then it's really important to like let go of certain things in order to be able to focus on what you're really, really good at.
Yeah, it's actually super funny that you bring that up. So we found 4 arenas in our business. So we have marketing, we have sales, right? And we see those as 2 distinct, very different, sectors of our business. So marketing, sales, project management or project coordination, right? All the preliminary stuff, all the back end, things that go into the logistics, scheduling, all that. And then installation, right? And site management. Those are the 4 sectors of our business. So it's pretty funny at the beginning because both me and my business partner wanted to be on the fun side. We call sales and marketing the fun side of the business, right? So I was over marketing and install, and he was over project coordination and sales. And we were failing miserably at that. It was funny because we have different skill sets. I have no attention to detail whatsoever. I like to move fast. I like to move loud. I'm very much a brand guy, right? I'm a salesperson. I'm just a salesperson that got lucky. I always say that, right? So me managing install crews, bad idea. And it was funny because my business partner is the exact opposite. It's perfect, yin and yang, how we work out together. He's attention to detail down to the key. Like he'll go to a job site and point out something that the customer didn't even notice. Like, hey, we need to fix, and that's what we needed to keep our quality super high. So we realized, okay, hey, I know that that's not fun, but you are the operations. I am the sales and marketing. Let's go there. And that's when it just clicked, right? It finally clicked, and we realized how amazing of an operations engine that my business partner Max created, and is continuing to create. And then same with me on the sales and marketing side, that we were just playing our right roles. But it's funny that you bring that up. It reminded me of so many different funny stories of like just funny stories about me on the install side are just not pretty. So
that's great. Honestly, it's that learning process, right? You start out a business, there's no handbook on here's how you become an entrepreneur and run your business. It's all about just like learning on the fly. So it's really cool that you got to figure out what works for the both of you and, really get in those lanes to find success. I want to shift gears now a little bit and talk about your workflows before you found ArcSite. Can you talk me through what that was like?
Yeah. So we used the satellite imagery software that it takes every 3 months, and we actually still utilize it and upload it onto ArcSite. But it takes updated satellite imagery every 3 months, and is about 97% accuracy on the square footage. So you can measure out yards really easily. So we use that, and we use just different color codes to be able to just put our products together. It was a huge mess, right? On top of that, the reason that ArcSite, well, I'll get into the solution that ArcSite brought, but we had our sales representatives putting in every single product manually. And we do not have set pricing either. We base it on like a gross margin percentage of what you get paid on your commissions. So they had to memorize 30 plus products that year. I think it was 2024 when we first had our sales reps going, and they had to memorize all those baselines of like, hey, you cannot charge under this. It was just a mess. And my business model is a lot different than most landscaping companies, whereas we, like, about 70% of our business is one same day. We call them one touches, right? So we go in, we pre-frame that we are going to show them a price, and we're going to get them to the finish line that day and close our project. That's one of our big differentiators. Is we actually, we go quick, we go fast, we create a really cool customer experience. So it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. I had so many reps, mess it up where we'd have unprofitable jobs because it wasn't a set price, where it was just a messy thing with the CAD rendering. So, installers would mess up on the installation side. And there was no way, absolutely no way, that we'd be able to expand our contract value through other products without a new solution. So in 2024, this is funny, I actually found ArcSite in early 2024 and used it myself before any of my sales reps used it, and anybody in our entire company. And I loved it, but we were just too busy to really go all in on it. And we looked at some other things. We actually put ArcSite to the side and decided to go with another solution, and that solution failed going into 2020. Wait, let's see. 2023, 2024. Sorry. That failed going into 2025, into this last year. Okay. And then we decided, I decided to get back on the phone with Alex, which at the time he was, I think he was the VP of sales over at ArcSite. And he showed me some of the tool, and I said, no, we got to burn all the bridges. And right before our SKO, our sales kickoff, I literally just pulled an audible, and I said, we're going all in on ArcSite. The cool part about ArcSite, on the flip side of our messy, confusing system, is ArcSite, all the sales rep needs to focus on is getting the measurements, designing the backyard, which is way more, capture, like cultivating, and it's just a better experience for the customer because they can see the different colors, they can see their yard come to life. But the biggest thing is they don't have to memorize all the pricing. So I was able to add, some of our markets have up to 118 different products, and none of we could scale. Actually, we could. It finally took that bottleneck out of the way so that we could scale those different products. And we actually increased from the time that we put on ArcSite, which I know that ArcSite doesn't talk about this. They should talk about this a lot more on the landscape side. But we increased our contract value from 10,000 to literally 18,500 that year, right? So it almost doubled our contract value just being able to include those other products at scale because of ArcSite. So that was the big thing, is we could have that price book, that product catalog that controlled our margin. We had way more profitable jobs, lot less mistakes. But the biggest thing is we could scale more products inside of ArcSite.
That's awesome. We're taking notes. We love to hear this. We love to hear from our customers what resonated and what, allowed you guys to be successful. So we love stuff like that.
Yeah.
How is the implementation process for you? Because I know that you said you used it first by yourself, and then obviously there's the process of rolling it out to the team. So what was that process like for you all?
Yeah. Maybe you don't want me to tell you this. So like I said, going into 2025, I just pulled an audible. We didn't have any tool. I did not want to use our old solution because we had so many more sales reps coming on. We wanted to scale these different products. So I just said, hey, we're going all in on ArcSite. And I shared ArcSite with the team, and some of my top sales reps, they literally came to me because nobody likes change, right? And they came to me, they're like, oh, I hate ArcSite. This thing sucks, whatever, And I said, hey, just give it a month. Just give it a month. And then I called Patrick over at ArcSite, and I said, dude, we need to get everybody sold on this. Like, I need your help. There was a couple other employees over at ArcSite that I was just, hey, I need you to help come just get buy-in. And the cool part about that is they were able to drop everything, and they were able to drop everything and really pay attention to the needs of my team and take a lot of time, 2+ hours sometimes on these trainings to make sure those core group of sales leaders that I had understood the value of ArcSite. And now, I actually use this all the time whenever I'm making changes in our systems and flows. I'm like, remember ArcSite, just trust me. Okay. Just, I want to emphasize this point on ArcSite is as a business owner, I have to evaluate so many different softwares, right? We're in the technology age where you cannot get away from utilizing technology in home services. And I've been very disappointed. Me and my business partner have this thing. Everything that is told to you on a demo is 30 to 40% worse. And if it's good enough, then we'll move forward. That was different with ArcSite because of the customer care. Most software companies rely on their product, but not on their customer service. And that's why they fail. Whereas ArcSite, they actually take care of their customers. They actually go above and beyond and make sure that everything's communicated. One last story on the implementation. We just changed our CRM over to Service Titan from our I think it was Monday.com that we were using before. And same thing is, we've now been customers for a while of ArcSite, and majority of softwares would just leave you hanging in the dust, right? Our new account manager is just so on top of making sure that ArcSite is communicating, exactly how we want it to be with Service Titan, but also with some of our other like canvassing softwares, just different like top of funnel softwares to make sure the data just runs smoothly. So that's the cool part, is like it's a company that doesn't forget about you. And software companies always forget about their customers. That's just, unfortunately, that's like the untold story of software. So, yeah.
Exactly. The unsaid thing is that every software or technology business is at its core a people business, because that is who your software or technology is serving on the other end. And it's the most important thing. If you don't have the goodwill of your customers, you don't really have anything. So that's always really good to hear.
You can have the most amazing product in the world, but if you do not have the catalyst of great customer care and service to make sure that those people understand the software, you will never retain customers. And that's why we absolutely love ArcSite, is because they helped us and they really retained us, right? They retained us by teaching us and making sure that we were completely aware of any type of change or process flow, anything that we even ask. They at least go and attempt to make sure it's true for us, right? So. Yeah,
absolutely. So speaking of the ArcSite usage, can you walk me through, I guess, for maybe other hardscape or turf businesses that might be listening to this, like what does your workflow look like inside of ArcSite if I were to be like a fly on the wall while a rep is working through the process?
Yeah. So first off is, let's say a lead comes in. We have it connected to Go High Level, our top of funnel marketing CRM. The lead actually is auto-generated inside of ArcSite and tags one of our sales reps. And obviously they already have it on their Google Calendar. It has different project notes. It has all the customer data inside of ArcSite. Then that rep, when they get out to the project, they either use our satellite software to just simply take a screenshot and then calibrate it on ArcSite just to make sure that like they have like, oh no, this is your house, right? or a lot of our reps recently have just been going out and manually measuring the yard and creating a CAD that way, right? So anyways, to watch to follow our workflow, rep goes into the house, builds rapport with the customer, puts down the turf samples, yada, 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 goes out to the yard, measures that yard really quickly, asks the customer, hey, what is your dream backyard? What can we build out of this? Then, after they have the outline of the yard, they go back in and literally that's our whole sales process is inside of ArcSite is we're designing with the customer. We already have our whole product catalog built in, ready to rock and roll, right? So they're building out the whole entire design. And I can send you guys to some designs after this. It's pretty fun to see. There's some sales reps that geek out on it. Some sales reps that, we're like, hey, you got to get a little bit better at this. So anyways, and we then once we've built that, we've created so much emotion with that customer, right? It's fun. Like we've even utilized a lot of your guys's different custom colors or like the grass, right? We have 6 different types of turf and we have different colors of the grass for each one. So it just looks realistic. It really emotionally ties the customer to the design. Then from there, we go in and we put in the financing option. We always lead with financing at our company. We're a same day, right? It's a lot easier to sell a $150 a month payment than a $10,000 down payment, right? So I always say, hey, lead with this first, and then if they have the cash, then we can go to cash. So they use literally ArcSite for the whole entire proposal process. They build it in, they put in the little finance rate. We've created a custom template that they can kind of guide the customer through the whole sales process and kind of like a price drop based on any promotions that we're running at that time too. So it's our all-in-one kind of bidding tool inside the house. And I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but from the design, the emotional connection to the customer, to getting the numbers in front of the customer, and especially that financing number, it's a match made in heaven for my business model.
No, that was great. That made a lot of sense. I love that. Yeah. And I think that is definitely like relatable to folks that might be watching this, right? They're kind of, it's always good to visualize what a business that looks like yours might do or look like inside of ArcSite. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And what I would say with any hardscapers that are thinking about going with ArcSite is you got to realize is the time is changing, is technology and speed to lead and speed to estimate is going to win, right? We cannot play on the pen and paper game anymore. And the faster, and that's why we win a lot of jobs. That's why we've created so much market exposure so quickly and captured so much market share, is because ArcSite gives us that ability to get the estimate there literally the same day, right? Within 30 to 45 minutes, they have the price and they can say yes or no, right? So that's what I'd say to any hardscaper or landscaper is you got to realize the biggest issue in your business is actually the time that you waste, and ArcSite will quicken that curve, right? That it will shorten the amount of time that you waste on estimates.
Definitely. It's always, about speed, right? People love instant gratification these days. I think the world we live in just, makes that even more of a reality, and small businesses just have to keep up. And that's really tricky when you're a small team and you're, pressed to do a lot at once. So it's always good to have tools that help you do more with less. I want to ask about the customer side of this. Like, what have some of the customer reactions been when you're right there at their kitchen table, being able to show them like what their yard looks like?
Couple funny stories with this is, like I said, 70% of our business is one touch. They close right there on the site. I actually personally had a couple estimates last year that I got some random text messages at 3 a.m. I can't stop thinking about that design. Like, we have to do it, right? And it's amazing. Like the emotional connection to that design, right? It really, I think, plays a big role in our success to be able to to close those customers, right? People buy emotionally and back it up logically. And that emotional connection to a design is everything, right? Yeah, and that's what I'd say is it creates an actual sales flow and process that people are not just listening to the sales rep talk about how great they are, but it's almost a collaboration between both, right? It's like it gives them the creation power of their yard versus, hey, this is what I want, and then come back in 2 weeks with a pen and paper kind of design. So collaboration and then the emotion that tie that customer in is it's amazing.
It's so powerful. Yeah. You said this a little bit before, but if I had to ask you to put a dollar value on the impact that ArcSite has had on your business, what would you say?
Let's do this. Actually, throw this. Let's just say, okay, so it's about $8,500 of increased contract value, right? I don't think that we could have done. Let's just equate $6,000 of that $8,000 increase to ArcSite being able to scale these other products that I don't know how I would have at scale anywhere else and kept them profitable. So let's say $6,000, and then do one of you guys have a calculator? 6,000 times 672. That's how many customers we had.
Hold on. I'll whip it out right now. 6,000 times 672 customers is $4 million and change. There you go.
Yep.
Amazing. Speaking of scaling then, like as you guys look forward into the next 3 to 5 years, like where do you hope that your business will grow, and how do you see ArcSite helping you to grow with it?
Yeah. Our big plan is truly to become the first landscape company, sustainable landscape company, to be able to democratize landscaping. Landscaping is such a fragmented and regional play for most of America. And it's because it's an art. You go from Salt Lake City to Phoenix, Arizona, the products that are used, the design, what people value and like is completely different because it's literally art for the yard. So we are going to be the first ones to figure out how to systemize landscaping at scale, not just regionally, but nationally, right? We've found a really good operating model and a way to expand to markets quicker than most people. And ArcSite is a huge play in it, right? I can build a price book for Phoenix, Arizona with my team within, a few days, and have sales reps ready to rock and roll. I can literally send sales reps from Salt Lake City. Hey, do you want to go open Phoenix? This is exactly what happened, actually. Hey, do you want to go open Phoenix? We have a price book ready. We've already gotten all of our pricing from all of our vendors, and we already have our installation crew set up. You guys can go down and rip. And within 7 days, we had our first estimate close, right? So the market expansion is huge for us, but then also the ability to systemize our sales flow and then move that cleanly to our vendors and to our installation teams. And ArcSite just plays kind of like the heartbeat in that, right? I would say ArcSite with our CRM attached to it for project management is just like the combo mill of what we want to do. So that's our goal, is to democratize and really to systemize exactly how landscaping is done on a nationwide scale. So, hey, freedom coming soon to Kansas or Florida or something, okay?
I'll be on the lookout for it. That's my home state, Florida is. Speaking of like expanding nationally, like how are you identifying which market you want to go into next, or what are good contenders? Like what does it take to get on your list to be expanded into?
Ooh, well, hopefully nobody takes this idea, because this is it right here. I follow trends of growth of track homes, but specifically track homes without backyards. So there's states that don't require the home builder to put in yards whatsoever, but they get fined by the HOA if they do not have a yard within 6 to 12 months, right? Oh. So I want to follow the DR Hortons, the Lennars to these markets, and I am just the DR Horton or the Lennar of the yard, simply, right? I have a perfect systemized flow. I have $150 to $300 a month payment plan that they can just tie into their mortgage, and it just makes landscaping way easier, right? So I just look for those markets. There is multiple markets that I've gone to, and it's funny because I do all this markets research, then I go get boots on the ground. And I literally go knock doors. I fly in with my top reps, and I just go out and just hit doors and figure it out. And there's 3 markets that we literally thought were going to be, home runs, and we just decided not to go to it because the builders were putting in backyards, right? Now there is a play on that, obviously, with our online marketing and branding. We're going to go to those markets, but I want to go to the low hanging fruit first, which is you're going to get fined if you don't have a yard in 12 months. And I just spent $80,000 on a down payment, right? So yeah, that's my business model, is to follow the track homes.
That's really smart. Honestly, that's such a very clever idea. And like you said, low hanging fruit. That's the quickest way to grow your business. Just get out there and make it happen, which is awesome. Yeah. I guess looking forward as well, like if you could give advice to yourself when you were first starting out, or if there was one big learning that you wish you could teleport and tell yourself, what would that be?
Scale comes from the process of elimination, not the process of addition. So every time that we've decided to, because I've had all these different ideas. I'm like more the visionary or the idealistic person in our business. So I'm like, okay, let's go win sports fields. Okay, let's go win, let's do snow during the winter. Let's do a service program, turf cleaning. Oh, let's do now one of those dog poop cleanup companies with the turf cleaning. I have all these different ideas. And I realized that 80 to 90% of my profit and my revenue came from one thing. And that's what I told you, is residential, making sure that we can have that low monthly payment, that we can hit that at scale. So the process of elimination leads to scale. It's not the process of addition whatsoever, right? Throw out all the stuff that you think is cool, but is just distracting you from your main goal.
Very smart. There's plenty of high paid consultants out there that will tell you exactly that. It's smart to niche down your business into the very specific, very narrow lane that you can really excel in. So you've got that down pat. Last 2 questions from me would be, number 1, what do you love about being an entrepreneur?
I listened to this podcast before I started this. It was a couple guys who started a solar company actually down in Florida. That I really looked up to, and they were talking in this podcast that they're like, if I could see what was going to happen, I wouldn't have started. I would have thought twice about starting this company, right? Because it's so hard. It literally it's gut wrenching. It's like, okay, cash, payroll. How are we going to hit this payroll? How are we going to hit this? Oh, seasonality. Here comes winter, right? All these different things. Angry customer, happy customer, right? So many different emotions that come with it. I remember listening to that podcast and I was like, yeah, those guys are soft. But now I understand. I totally understand what they mean. But I wouldn't change it for the world. The couple things that I like about being an entrepreneur, being a business owner is, number 1 is I love to compete. I love to compete in the marketplace. I love to compete against myself, against my past selves, to see how far we can move something. So I love the scorecard of okay, how do we do more? How do we get to the next level? I also love the impact, right? I was actually just thinking about this morning. It's so awesome to think that we set up these yards, and these yards are going to impact families for 20, 30 years plus. And we got to play a small part in some of those family experiences that are going to happen. So, for instance, I put in artificial grass, a really cool putting green, a whole 9-hole putting green in my parents' backyard last year. And I remember having dinner with all of my little nieces and nephews just playing on the putting green. It was surreal. It was I wonder how many families we've experienced, we've created these experiences for. And it's just that ripple effect of being able to just do a little small thing for these homeowners at a really high quality, right? And give them an opportunity to experience and just to create memories with their families in their backyards. That's my favorite. It kind of that's what keeps me going, is knowing, hey, there's a ripple effect here for families.
Absolutely. It's the heart and soul, right? Like, it's where your kids are going to run around, dogs, cats, pets, all the things. It's where memories are made. And last question for you from me is, how do you define success?
If you would have asked me that a few years ago, I would have had a different answer. Now I define success is when you go to bed, do you go to bed with peace, knowing that you gave it your all that day? And it's just a daily thing. There's no quantifiable, like everybody's like, oh, the success in your family is success in your business. No. Can you go to bed at peace that you did everything you can to impact the world that day?
Alex, you got me curious. Where did the name come from, actually? Because the first time I read it, I was like, oh, FDRM. And then everyone was like, no, it's freedom. And I was like, I like that. It's a good name.
Yeah. So it was actually pretty funny. So when me and my business partner were talking, we were throwing out different ideas, different names. I actually had a coach that I did. This is on a totally, I don't know. This might not be a good, but anyways, I had a life coach that I would do these really deep meditations with, right? And I remember literally seeing freedom, like and I remember feeling like, okay, we're going to create freedom for these families, freedom from maintenance, freedom from all this stuff. We're going to create freedom for our employees, our installers, and our salespeople, financial freedom, time freedom. We're going to create freedom for the world with water, like with the whole water crisis in the Southwest, just with, just conserving water in general, right? The conservation of water, and then freedom for, me and my business partner. So I remember just jumping out of this and feeling that we have to call it freedom. And I sent it over to my business partner. This is the funny part. I'm the kind of like the sham wow guy. He's the very right. Sent it over. I'm like, hey, we're gonna do this. This is what I felt. And he's like, yeah, I don't care about the name as long as we take care of the customers. That's all he said back to me. I was like, sweet, we're going with freedom then. And so I actually brought it to my wife, and our logo comes from my wife. My wife is really, really good at design. And she was like, freedom's a little too generic. So she was actually the one who came up with the idea is we should do FRDM, right? So we actually not even our LLC, like nothing at the company is freedom spelt out. It's all FRDM. So it's a little bit different. It makes it a little bit more new wave, but it still has that meaning behind it for us with the freedom for families, freedom for everybody involved. So yeah.